Hello hidden artists, welcome to another tutorial. Today I'm going to demonstrate painting an eye within Hidden Artist. So I've selected this man's portrait, which is one of the Hidden Artist bundled paintings to do, and this eye is quite interesting. Has a nice little few wrinkles underneath it, has a difference in color across it, and let's dive right in and see if we can get this painted. So just like with any hidden artist painting, you really want to paint along the lines of contrast. So in this case for an eye, you want to start really in one corner and go to the other corner along the bottom and along the top to start with. So I'm just going to go along like this. For this tutorial I'm using my finger. I will do another one with a stylus just to demonstrate the difference, because you can do a few other things with a stylus that you can't do with your finger. So anyway, go from one corner from the top now, and you can see that a stroke in Hidden Artist gives you about half the color of what you need, and so you're going to need to do at least one or two of these to get the full color onto your page, and do that. So now you have the outline. And I typically zoom in here and start with the iris. Get the iris going. You can sort of see where it is here. Paint it around, and I'll just spiral slowly into it. So you get that nice dark rim, and as you go inside, you're going to get more of the colors. Now, of course, irises have typically little lines that radiate from the pupil out to the edge of the iris. And to get those, you certainly can't do the spiral, because you're just going to smudge them all. So once I have the outside of the iris in place, I'll then start drawing from the pupil out to the edge. So this will bring out any of those kind of radiating lines and give them a chance to be shown. Now be careful about these areas where there's a big change in color. You want to make sure you get that, because that's going to be the reflection of some light in the room, and it really brings the painting alive to have it. So this pupil has it a bit as well. Just go around there. And so now the iris is fairly well formed here. We're going to go around the edges just to make sure that it's nice and clear on that edge. And I'm going to move it all the way down to the side here. Keep on dragging along the edges. You want to be careful not to stick your finger in the dark stuff and pull it down, because you're going to pull all that color into the eye, which isn't where it belongs. So just start on the edge of where the boundary or the eyelash or eyelid is. And then from the corner, you want to zoom in a bit, get that color just to pull out into the white of the eye a little bit, like that. We'll just color that in there. Make sure we don't leave any little bits of white. You can see here is where I've only had one pass of my finger. You need to just color that in. And then over here, we're going to do the same. So let's work away from the iris towards the corner. Being careful not to get too close to the edge of the eye here. Otherwise it pulls this darkness into it. Go along there. And we will go along here. And just keep on working this area. It's pretty important that you spend a bit of time on the eyes. We as people look into eyes so much in our lives that if something doesn't look right, we'll notice it right away, even if we can't tell exactly what's wrong. So let's just get these corners, work it into the white a little bit, and already we have a pretty good eye. You can zoom out and see that. If you look into it here, you can see there's a few spots here that just need a little bit more of a touch up. Bring these radiating things out a bit more. That's pretty good. Now we want to work around the eye. So when you're doing a face, you want to think of it as almost like a big map. This guy's lying on his back, and you want to draw along the face the way that water would flow down it, which is typically the way the wrinkles are. So you kind of start in here and you work down across the cheek and down to the side. Later on you'll have to draw along the side of the face, which is kind of perpendicular to that flow. But for the front of the face you want to run along these wrinkles and just make sure that you don't smudge them away. If you were to go sideways you get this sort of thing, which is not going to look normal. And of course you can undo all those. Don't want those. And let's go in here. I'm not going to paint this whole face, this is just the eye tutorial, but you do have to work the skin around the eye to make it look good. On the top, on the eyelid, you can just follow again the contour of the eye here. Wherever you see a kind of area that the color changes, try to drag along that so you get a fairly crisp line. Now the slower you drag, the less color you drag into the next area. So if you need to blend it so that it's not a visible change between dark and light, just make sure you go slowly. Okay, here's that. Now we'll work up towards the eyebrow. And for the eyebrow you want to follow the direction of the hair. If there's visible eyebrow hairs in the picture that you're painting, you can bring them out a little bit as long as you're following the direction of the hair. If you go across it, it will just smudge it all out. So these hairs kind of go up like this. See that color is coming in here. Work around the top. And you're going to have to go over it many times again to really get that full color. The faster you go, the more visible strokes you'll get. If you go slower, it will try to smooth it out a bit more. But for eyebrows, you kind of want a little bit of variation in there. It shouldn't all be smooth. Alright, so we go underneath them here. Again, just following the shape of the face. This isn't like a coloring book where you just run your pencil everywhere. You have to think about brush strokes, just like you would if you were really painting this face. Okay. Now, presumably you've done other bits of painting before, but the more you zoom out, the bigger your brush is. We can do wider swaths of, if there's areas that don't have much variation, you can zoom out a little bit and get color onto those areas easier if you zoom out. You zoom in for the details, like the brim of his hat here. You want to run right along that. And, oops. Now, of course you can undo, but I find I almost never undo. I just kind of paint over any mistakes I've made. Okay, it's not too bad. Sometimes when you're zoomed all the way in, things don't look all that great. But when you pull out, it starts to look a lot better. I don't like this bit of color here. There's a little bit of gray in there, I think. Okay. Alright, well, there's your eye, and I think it looks pretty good. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next tutorial.